likes it. The other way, that is trapped. Out at second, out at first. Well turned by Bregman to second. As you see this one skip into his glove as opposed to catching it on a line drive. And that led to
us talking about how the first step in taking our infield play to the highest level possible is understanding and mastering pre-pitch movement. Hey there, Coach Riz here from Elite Youth Baseball, and today we're going to take an in-depth look at how the best defensive players in the game approach their pre-pitch movement, why they do it the way they do, along with training strategies to help young players incorporate these fundamentals into their own game. So the goal of our pre-pitch movement, the prep step, the creep step, or whatever it is you want to call it, is to put the player into a position so that they can react and get to the balls that are hit as quickly as possible. And although there are literally 100 different ways to achieve this, when it comes time to make a play, they all have two things in common. One, the player's feet are in motion at contact, and two, the player is in a proper athletic stance for the position he plays. So the way I've always done it, and the way that I teach it, is for the player to have some sort of movement as the pitcher is delivering the pitch. Typically this is a left-right-left walk or a right-left, followed by a spread getting them into a more shoulder-width athletic stance. But the key is, as the ball is crossing the hitting zone at the plate, the player in the field is going to take a little hop, so that at contact his feet are actually off of the ground and in the air. You want your feet to come down slightly after the ball's been hit, right around the time that you're able to react to it, and then that way your feet are never actually planted in the ground, but they're in constant motion. This allows for the player to have the quickest possible reaction time. So having said that there's 100 different approaches to getting to this position of having your feet slightly in the air at the point of contact and landing just after, one of my favorites to watch and one of the most unique in Major League Baseball in doing this is Dustin Pedroia. Although to me he looks like somebody with zero flexibility trying to do a cheerleader's toe touch, if you look at all the hallmarks of what proper footwork pre-pitch is, his approach still has all the characteristics. He's moving forward as the pitcher delivers the pitch. He's spreading out and getting into a more athletic stance as the pitch crosses the hitting zone, and at contact, his feet are off the ground, landing a split second after contact is made, allowing him to have the quickest reaction time possible. Here's a great view showing the left side of the Cubs infield at the point that the baseball is crossing the hitting zone, and you can notice how both players' feet are off the ground. When players stop moving their feet, it's difficult to get the feet moving again. I call this concrete feet or glue feet. It's sort of like being stuck in a glue trap. So the ability to create the timing so that the feet are actually off the ground at the point of impact and are landing exactly at the time that you're able to react to the direction of the play allows for the player to have the quickest feet and reaction time possible, thus covering the largest amount of area possible, increasing his range. Great defense starts with great feet, and great feet start before the pitch is even thrown. Now let's look at Miguel Andujar, who, while a great rookie this year for the Yankees, is arguably one of the worst defensive third basemen in the league. Pay attention to his, what I like to call, go, stop, go feet. We don't want go, stop, go feet, we want go feet. This leads to your feet sticking to the ground and a much slower reaction time. Also notice how spread his legs are. He's much further than shoulder width apart, and how bent over at the waist he is. He's almost in a good fielding position, and this is before the ball's ever been hit. This has to limit his range, since if he goes to move left or to the right, first thing he's going to have to do is stand up somewhat. Compare his posture to that of Astros shortstop Carlos Correa, and you'll notice that Correa is much more upright. He's got both hands out in front in a relaxed manner with the elbows bent, thumbs up. He's still forward and he's still on the balls of his feet, but he's closer to a shoulder width, even though he's slightly wider than shoulder width. He's not nearly as spread as Andujar was, and you can just tell from looking at this position that he'll be able to cover more ground in a shorter amount of time. When analyzing the best of the best, it's easy to see that almost all of them put themselves in nearly the same pre-pitch position. So now the question becomes, How do we teach this to our younger players? Most kids want to make the great play. So the first thing we need to do is to get them to understand and buy into the fact that those great plays start with great pre-pitch footwork. When coaching younger kids, I like to have all the kids line up and show me their pre-pitch footwork. Once they have that down, then I do a simple drill where I take a baseball, and as they do their footwork, I toss it in the air, and it's their job to get the timing to where their feet are landing just as or just slightly after the ball hits the ground. This is to help them learn the difficult part of the timing. Making sure that the kids understand that when the ball hits the ground, that is simulating when the ball is crossing the hitting zone of the batter in a real game. Once the kids understand their pre-pitch routine, it now becomes something that's done every single time they field a ground ball in practice. Every time a coach goes to hit a fungo, they're going to go through their pre-pitch footwork, including the hop, timing it so that they are landing slightly after the coach makes contact with the fungo. Eventually, this will become so ingrained that it becomes something that they just do without thinking about it. So as we watch the Cleveland Indians take some ground balls from spring training this year, you'll notice how every single one of them, and I guarantee you they're not thinking about it, goes through their pre-pitch footwork as they field fungos being hit by coaches.